Welcome to Mark My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Mark My Words. So, I'm a person who feels like they've had a really challenging life and they've had a lot of obstacles. I talk about it all the time on this show and have become a lot more open about it as I've been doing this show more and more over the years. And I love when I can kind of go with a story and with a guest who is bringing something a little different to the table. And Drake, I certainly feel very bad for your story. Don't mean to put it in any kind of light or anything, but I'm very inspired by Drake Wolfe's story, and I'll just kind of sum it up, and I'll let him tell the rest and fill in the blanks. But he spent 15 years in foster care and aged out with nothing, which is part of his story that hopefully maybe I'll find out a little more about if he wants to talk about it. But he had no safety net, no connections, and with all that, he wound up building a 7-figure AI software business that now runs entirely through automation, zero employees, and that to me is truly inspiring. He just became a number one bestseller on Amazon for his new book, The Final Business Model. And he is the founder of Agentix. He is the founder of Optimize AI. He's the founder of Foster the Future Foundation. And he has inspired me, and I haven't even really let him speak too much yet. Drake Wilson. Drake Wolfe. I almost called you Drake Wilson. I must know of a Drake Wilson. Drake Wolfe. Welcome to Mark My Words. How you doing today?
Great, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on, man. That was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate you very much.
Well, I appreciate you, and I really am excited to not only hear about your story and the obstacles you faced early in life, but definitely excited to hear about AI because I feel like virtually every episode I've done here of late has revolved around AI in some way, shape, or form. It's definitely something that I feel as a podcast host has been talking to entrepreneurs like for the past 5 years. This is definitely the hottest I feel like AI has been. So I'm really excited to talk to you on all those fronts. And I usually start out by asking about going to school, going to college, and that kind of stuff. But you had a little bit of a different path, and I'd love to hear not only about just, that window around when you were 15 and things were really like you timed out in foster care, but I'd also be curious because you're now, doing really well in the world of technology and AI. And I'd be curious to know what role technology played as you were moving through the system growing up, and whether you had envisioned maybe trying to go to school, or maybe if you wound up going, and I'll just stop hypothesizing on everything and I'll let you tell your story and fill in the blanks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, so where do I start? Yes, I did grow up in foster care between the ages of 3 and 18, and I will share that with you. I know that you mentioned earlier you didn't know how much of it I'm willing to share. I will share it with you. I think it's important for people to hear stuff like this, especially because it is a bit of a rarity. So yeah, I went into foster care for reasons that are pretty standard and usual for foster kids, which is my biological family just really couldn't take care of me. They were struggling with some addictions, unfortunately, and so I got put in foster care with my two biological brother and sister, and yeah, from then on, we spent some time with one family, and I ended up bouncing around quite a bit throughout my young adult, or sorry, my young childhood life beyond about 10 or 11. I started to bounce around to different programs and different houses and things of that nature, and that's also pretty common. The longer that you stay in foster care, you generally they try to find a place to place you. So they tend to go outside of the norm and outside of the usual family dynamic. And sometimes they just don't have a place to put you. So, you end up in places. But all that to say, it it definitely it definitely created the version of me that I am today. Um, all the things that I had to go through were something I was going to utilize as a crutch. It's something that I knew that I could use to my advantage growing up and becoming an adult. I was, capable of seeing things in a better light. Um, Personally, I'm a man of faith, and so I do believe that I don't know what your beliefs are, or what your listeners' beliefs are, but that's my particular belief. And yeah, I think that God has been there through it all for me, man. I think that He's watched over me in the worst case scenarios and really just blessed me with the opportunities that I've had today. And yeah, it's kind of a little bit about my past there, just high level. If you want to know anything else, we could dive in with more questions. But
I definitely feel like everything happens for a reason. And I don't want to turn this into like a metaphysical show or religious themed show, but I am a big believer that I was put on this planet with the issues I was born with. I was born with very rare syndrome. The thing that people see is like the cleft lip and palate, and there I always call it a package deal. There are other things that came along with it, and I'm definitely a big believer that it's not just you and I who have, special circumstances and obstacles. I think all of us are here for one reason or another. Like there's a specific reason that we've been put into the life that we're living. And sure, I could view it as just like, it's like you're at the casino, and life is just kind of like what the hand that you're dealt. But I personally think there's a little more to it. I think we don't get more than we can handle, I think. So uh yeah, I definitely feel you on that level as far as like, what I experienced growing up and really through my whole life has kind of set me up for how I view things and how I've gone about my life and the direction I've wanted to go in it. And it kind of sounds like you feel the same way on your end.
I do, yeah, I do. I think everything does happen for a reason. I appreciate you saying that, Mark. I think that, regardless of whether it's a religious angle, like you said, as a metaphysical angle, or just a thought, I think that nothing happens by chance. And I think, like you and like myself, the unique stories behind where we come from and the things that made us who we are, they matter. And they really matter, especially if you're sharing your story with people. So being able to, be bold in that and step forward. I appreciate you sharing your issues as well. I think when you go through things that are other than normal, at first they can kind of be difficult to share with people because it's vulnerability, and that's a dangerous place, but also it's you're different, you're just different, and that's okay. As I've gotten older, I've realized I want to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. I like that I am different, and you know My wife and I have talked about this before, but like I like being the weirdo. I like being the, the one that's a little outside of the norm. Because what's normal anyways, man, you know? Who wants to
I
be
have
normal these days?
I have learned that all of us who are pursuing like some kind of entrepreneurial venture in life, we all kind of have a variation of that in common where we just have that drive to be our own self and to be a little bit different, and it comes in all different shapes and forms. And I feel like you and it sounds like we come a little more from that school of like, well, I and again, you pretty much just said it, but I'll say it for myself. I am used to being kind of like the weird one, and or at least perceived that way, and so I'm pretty comfortable going outside the box a little bit. I'm pretty comfortable being resourceful and all those other like independent words that you can throw in there. And I feel like it has really helped to shape the person that I've become. And it really, for me, it be just starting this show. I mean, it was one of those things where I actually did get a lot of support and good feedback from people that I was meeting because without all of them, I wouldn't be doing this right now. They all those people I've met along the way that have supported me and have planted the seeds that I should make content and all that stuff. They're the ones who got me thinking at all. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be doing this. I think I'd still be like pursuing something entrepreneurial, but I wouldn't be putting myself out there like this. And I feel like this is something that I've always wanted to do and have had the drive to do. And again, I feel like we all wind up where we are for a reason. And I think both of us are put where we've been for a reason. And kind of like now, if you want to have a thought on that, you can cut in. But I actually also want to know about the turning point in your life, because you came to a point where you could, you aged out in the system. Where do you go from there when something like that happens?
Oh man, yeah, that's a great question. Well, it's actually the reason that I created Foster the Future Foundation. So when you age out of foster care, it's a really it's kind of a secretive, not very well known topic, but the government doesn't really have any federal programs for foster kids that age out. So essentially, what happens is somewhere between 1 and 5 days after your 18th birthday, um, if you are adopted by your foster family and they still have children, you legally can't be in the house anymore because you're now an adult in the house with minors that isn't adopted. So you literally are forced out of the home. And so what happened in my situation was 2 days after my 18th birthday, a caseworker came by and gave me a $200 stipend and was like, okay, bye. Like you got to go. And I didn't have any biological family that I was in connection with. I had connections with my first foster family, but it took me a while to get connected with them. And yeah, I was pretty much instantly homeless. I didn't have access to really anything. It wasn't great. And I'm actually one of the lucky ones. The numbers would astonish you. That's something I'm trying to change through Foster the Future Foundation. But usually, what happens is these kids age out, they go homeless, they become drug addicts or alcoholics, they get involved in the wrong crowds, and unfortunately, sometimes they pass away pretty early. It's kind of difficult when you already go through this extremely, negative situation. Most of the time, unfortunately, as much as there are loving foster parents out there, it is really hard to get those, find the ones that are good, because just as many of them that are good, there are bad ones. A lot of people don't know this, but there's a lot of programs in foster care that pay the foster parent, sometimes exorbitant amounts of money, per kid, especially if they're physically or mentally, disturbed in any way. And generally by the time you're, 10, 11, 12 in foster care, if you've been a lifer like I was, you got a little something going on, right? You got some separation anxiety or some PTSD or something. So you're kind of categorized as as that type of kid. And when that happens, they pay foster parents, some states like up to $1,800 a month per kid. So you'll have these foster farms essentially. Um, little bit, little bit of a negative connotation here. I'm going to share this with you, but essentially these places that have 10, 12, 15 kids kind of crammed in a house, where, the foster parents are not really being parents. They're kind of just being, um, breeders almost, I guess, like a puppy farm. They just kind of take care of you. They just feed you and, do the very bare minimum in order for you to be considered alive, and so that they can collect those checks. And unfortunately, that's happening more often than not. And Foster the Future Foundation, to segue into that, is a nonprofit organization that essentially makes sure that when these kids are about to age out of foster care, prior to them aging out, not 5 days before, but 2-ish years before, we can get involved with them to say, hey, you're 16 years old. The likelihood of you being, adopted at this point is very low. What we want to do is either, very first thing is find out if their biological family has anybody that is fit to take care of them, because reunification is number one. And if they are fit and they go through, a rigorous process, making sure that they are good for the kid, then they can actually be, reunited. But if not, the program has 5 pillars, and it's the first three are the immediate needs. How can we get them food, clothing, and housing? Those are the first three things they're going to need as soon as they age out of foster care. And all of this would happen, of course, with partnering with other nonprofit organizations that give food out, clothing out, whether it's local, regional, or national. And then the second set of pillars are the last two, which is educational opportunities, whether that be through trade schools, whether that be through um, private grant programs, or paid internships from local companies that we partner with. Just whatever that looks like, giving them an education, giving them an opportunity to have a future in education. And then the fifth one is community and spiritual guidance, if they want that. Getting them connected with local churches, local communities, so that they can feel loved and they can have friends. That's a big thing that is lacking in that space. Is these kids age out of foster care. Most of them had a horrible life, and were, abused in some way, shape, or form, and then they're thrown out into the streets essentially to feel unloved and unwanted. And it's a difficult thing. So I'm really blessed that I made it out. I'm one of the people that made it out, and I just want to be able to do what I feel is my duty, to reach back down and, make the resources available to them that I didn't have.
Wow, that is really wild. I mean, this is a lot of information that I personally didn't know. I didn't really know how the system worked on all of this. And I think it's a wonderful thing what you're doing with your foundation. I mean, obviously, something needs to change. There really needs to be some serious change with that. And I mean, your story is incredible. Just not only coming out of that with such a good head on your shoulders, but you're entrepreneur, you're now number one bestseller on Amazon. Like, you're really making things happen. You're a really great story. And one thing that I'm curious about, when you're growing up in a situation like that, and you age out as you did, what, as far as like pursuing a career, because you wound up immersed in AI, was there a point where you became interested in computers or
Mm.
technology? How did you go from basically nothing to like actually working your way into uh, this field?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. I mean, one step at a time really is the overarching answer to that. It's difficult to kind of go from very little resources to being even remotely successful at something. But I would say I always had a love for technology. I mean, really, ever since I was a little kid, if I ever had a toy that was, mechanical in any way, I was always taking it apart and trying to figure out what was going on with it. Um, and, that kind of led into the YouTube years when I was younger. One of my foster brothers and he, his biological parents sent him an iPod Nano back in high school. I don't know if you remember those,
Hmm.
but we used to make videos on them for hours. We were one of the original OGs on YouTube. So we didn't have really any followers, but we loved making videos. So anything and everything about technology, I've always liked. I was a video game guy too. I kind of dove into that world for a while, and technology is just it's always caught my eye. At first, due to my situation, I wasn't able to go into it immediately. I actually started in the commercial construction industry, just kind of worked my way up from there. Um, and then blessed in that situation as well. I was able to become a mid-level executive pretty quickly in my mid-20s. And then from there, started my entrepreneurial ventures and eventually got myself into tech and AI as I am now. Um, but yeah, I mean, what drove me was, I think, first my love for technology, and then secondly, it was perfect timing, man. Last year was when I really started to seriously dive in right at the end of last year, which doesn't sound like a long time. It's not. It's been about 5-ish months now, but I've really been grinding and focused on being an expert in this space, understanding it at a deep level, and being able to share my knowledge and my ideas with other people, which is what spawned the book, The Final Business Model, and auto-generative agentic ecosystems. So, yeah, man, it's just been a passion of mine, and I've been blessed and uh, put in a situation where I was able to kind of make this a reality.
So was Agentix always like about AI? Was that really like the roots and seeds of it? Because I know going back 5 years ago, I know AI was like a thing, but it wasn't like it is now, where it's like definitely something that is on everybody's radar and they're trying to use and be more educated on. What kind of got the wheels spinning about uh, just transitioning into being an entrepreneur for AI?
Yeah, so full disclosure, I was a consultant prior to that, a business consultant. So I had a unique perspective. I got to go into people's companies and kind of be deeply seated in their organizations and work with the C-suites. And so I had a unique, perspective on business already, and got the opportunity to almost peek behind the curtain, if you will, in a lot of different types of businesses. And so that gave me this broad spectrum of knowledge in business and the do's and the don'ts. How that happened, I still don't know to this day, but I was given an opportunity and I kind of just ran with it. That's really the story of my life. Just given an opportunity way beyond my means or what I deserve, and yeah, it was amazing. But um, yeah, my business consultancy kind of took off, and that started doing really well for me. And then I started realizing that AI was becoming a very serious topic, and it was no longer just in the deep tech space, but it was starting to become open sourced and something that everyone was really excited about, but no one really understood. So very early, I saw there was an advantage to those who became very knowledgeable in AI quickly and almost gained an expertise. And I also knew that this was a chance for me to transition into the space that I ultimately wished I could have been in anyways. So I think that's really what pushed me over the edge to go, all right, let's do AI. I think AI is huge, number one. Number two, I'm, absolutely in love with the thought of it all. And then, being able to be on the forefront of something so drastic and so significant in our lives. This is the dot-com era of, the 2020s. And it's gonna be bigger than that, way bigger than that. Um, so I think I knew that. I saw that. I was blessed to be able to take advantage of that early on. And now kind of starting to cement myself as a thought leader in the AI space so that people have that advocate that's not going to just hide a bunch of information behind a paywall. I'm going to be starting a YouTube here shortly where I'm going to be sharing a lot of information for free. And of course, I'm an entrepreneur. I do have to make a living, and Agentix, just to kind of circle back, is the brainchild of that. So I saw a need specifically for integration of AI. People have heard agent and agentic systems and all these other things, these keywords, these hot words that are being thrown around, but no one really understands it and really understands the capabilities. So I wrote my book about it that deep dives into what it looks like, what that is, and what version I created. And then my Agentix company is an AI agency that then implements that into your business workflow. So my team and I would come in and we would essentially create anything and everything you can imagine and automate it for you. So that's the brainchild of the desire to hop on the wave of AI, and I'm very glad that I did.
Well, I'm glad that you had the foresight to jump on the wave because I'm like kind of like a cautious person in general, but I know for the past few years I've been kind of like sitting on the sidelines with AI, and I'm like a very resourceful person anyway. So in my mind, I'm like, I can do it. I can do everything, and
That's
I
great.
I'm starting. Well, it's great, but it's also like a bad thing too. I think because whether it's AI or a person or a team, I feel like you have to get to a point, especially if you're wanting to push your product, uh, your business, your podcast as me as an example, you want to push things forward, you have to learn to like delegate a little bit. And
Yeah.
that's something I'm really starting to like come around on and starting to actually look at AI, like a billion years later. I'm like, this here AI might be something here that I should try to do something with on my podcast or whatever. And just using myself as an example, what is something that somebody like me or even somebody who is a little less technical than I am? I mean, I've been working in a technical field for 20-ish years, so I'm pretty well equipped on technology. Just I know AI is something that I've been a little more slowly jumping into. What do people like me or even less technological of a person, what do we need to know or understand about AI that maybe we don't or that you see?
Mm. Yeah, that's a powerful question. To somebody that may hear about AI, right? Let's be honest, everybody's heard about AI. It's the
Yeah.
biggest thing in the world right now. And it's radically changing all Fortune 500 companies. Feel like I open up my app every day and there's a different feature coming out. But um, the truth is, education, um, self education immediately. And here's why. Regardless of what industry you're in, position you're in, whether it's low, high, whether you're just starting out or you are a high level executive, it does not matter. If I could stress something to everybody in this moment, it would be educate yourself. There are programs that are coming out. Of course, the colleges are going to try to take advantage of this and monetize this, of course, but there is enough high quality information from a lot of people on YouTube right now where if you just took a few days out of your time collectively, even just a weekend, where you just shut your phone off, closed yourself in a room and watched, you know, a lot of these guys like Drake Sirach and his brother, Liam Otley, all of these guys on YouTube that are giving away just absolute AI gold when it comes to this for free. So um, that's it, man. Educate yourself, regardless of what position you're in, because what we are going to see, and this is not a fear mongering thing, but we do need to be realistic. AI is radically changing the workforce as we know it. And it's becoming a lot easier to do a lot of complex things. Now, what does that mean for the future of simple tasks? Well, I think everybody's fear is that automation is definitely going to take away some of the simplicities of our industries. Period. That's just the way it is. So people that are in a position that they know that, hey, maybe it is possible that, an AI structure can kind of take the reins from me in the next year or two, definitely just start educating yourself because we're coming into the age of the tech entrepreneur, and you do not have to be in tech to do it. I'm a perfect example. I do not have a technical background, and I am seeing success right now. So I would say education, man. That's the biggest thing. Self-education, and don't follow the hype. Don't let anybody scare you. Right? We're not in a place where millions of people are going to lose their jobs or anything like that. Uh, if you listen to the big players, the ones that matter, Sam Altman just said it the other day. We're in like phase 3 of 6 for AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. For anybody that doesn't know, um, we're in like phase 3 of 6, so we got some time before some of those scarier things happen. But yes, let's not be dystopian about it. Let's be honest and realistic. And for being in this industry and hearing things and watching the news and understanding how this works, yeah, absolutely, there will be a time where um, automation kind of takes a few of these things away. So educate yourself.
Yeah, it is easy to get caught up in, oh my gosh, we're going to have this world where nobody's going to have anything to do. Technology's going to do everything. And we're either going to become like new age, like peaceful party people, or it's going to be chaos. Like you get all these things going on in your mind about what that kind of world could look like. And I suppose you never know, but I also like to live in like the real world too. And I'm like, okay, at least in our lifetime, I'm not quite sure it's gonna become something like that.
No, no, no. That's a great thing, Mark, that you said that. I think there's two things that everybody needs to take into consideration, and this is such a touchy subject, but I love talking about it. Um, we are far too creative to be replaced. Human beings, we are designed to be creators, and that is something that no matter how autonomous AI becomes, they aren't very good at. Unfortunately, they only know what humans know, right? They're pulling from a database of billions of data points that we've created, but having original thoughts is strictly a human thing. And in the future, who knows what would come of that? But as of right now, we're not concerned about not being the number one most creative beings on this planet for the foreseeable future. So we are, and that's something that people need to understand. Is my final business model. I talk about this. It's not about replacing humans with autonomous structures. It's about freeing humans from the monotony that the past 150-year old business model that we all follow has put us in. It's the clickety clack of the daily routines, and you see people burning out left and right. They hate their lives, and I was there. I know what that's like. Even when I was making good money, I didn't really like what I was doing, and I just found this like this depth this despair almost to it, where I was like, man, I've got to do this for another 35 years. That's crazy. I don't want to do that, you know? And so utilizing AI for what it's meant to be, which is to free you to be the creator again, to free you to be the, entrepreneurial head, whatever that looks like. We've been taught that that's scary, right? And it is scary in a world where you may have kids, a wife, and you have finances that are uncertain. That's something to worry about. But you know what else is scary? Sitting behind a desk for the next 40 years. That's scary too in its own way. So that's something that I think it AI is really going to help people really unleash that opportunity to be creative in every facet of the word, anything they've ever wanted.
And I mean, you're making some really good points. I mean, luckily, I'm really fortunate to have a really awesome day job because I still have a day job and I've been there. And I think that was one of the things that drove me to start this podcast is that I was at a point years ago where I was like, well, I kind of want to do more than just climb the ladder, in corporate America. I mean, if that were to happen and continue in my day job, that'd be amazing. And I'll fill you in on a little more of that once we're done recording. But uh, I can understand, and that's why we're here today, is because that's what kind of like fueled my desire to find, things that really fulfill me as a human being, as an individual, rather than thinking always about how I can climb up the ladder. And there's a little more to life than that, and I think we all have like creativity and things that are left on the table, things that are not fulfilled in our lives that we don't always really see that we actually have the power to do and to make change and to heal ourselves, with mental health and to make our situations better. And I think because maybe my experience and especially yours, that's something that maybe we pick up on a little bit. We have like a different perspective. I don't know if I want to say better or that may not be the nicest word, but I think that because of where both of us have been in life, I think we have a different perspective and maybe a different drive. And frankly, it sounds like you just happen to find a real good niche. And I mean, it's amazing for you that you know, found your way in the AI world and had the intelligence to not be like, well, let's wait and see what happens with this here AI. You you went for it.
Yeah, man, it's been a big blessing for me, and I will tell anybody that's interested, including yourself, Mark, it's not too late, man. There's so many things that are happening. We're only at the very beginning of this stuff. Yes, it's moving super fast, but you got to remember, especially as a solopreneur, you can operate and scale at a much higher speed than these bigger companies can, and that's something that we all have in our favor. So if you have a cool idea, just go for it. Just try it out. Spend an hour or two at night if you can, on the weekends. Do your best to put something together and slap it on the internet and just see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? You fail, but you actually did something that you wanted to do. That sounds great. That's kind of the mindset that I'm in. It's like either I can do something that other people want me to do for the rest of my life, and I'll never know. I'll never know what it would have been like to take the chance. Or I could take the chance, be broke, fail at everything, but have done the things that I wanted to do. So,
Well, one thing that I'm really curious about, you talk a little bit about being a faceless brand and just kind of being invisible on purpose. And there was a time in my life where that's something that I really wanted. I think I wanted my cake and eat it too, to some degree. Like I wanted to put myself out there tell my story and do some of the things that I'm now doing visually and audio and visually. Um, but I wound up instead and just reading some of this stuff on being a faceless brand. I'm like, man, that sounds sweet. I would love that, and I think a lot of us would.
Yeah.
And uh, fortunately for you, in your situation, you can kind of like pull that off. Just tell me a little bit about why you like talking about that and what you see for that in the future for all of us, and just anything else you want to share about being an invisible, faceless brand.
Yeah, man. It's a powerful thing. I think what a faceless brand and what a faceless opportunity looks like, it gives everybody kind of an equal playing field. And I think coming from the background that I did, that equality really speaks to me, where it's like, hey, you don't have to be special. You don't have to be the best talker or a model physically or any of that stuff, right? You don't have to have the craziest education in order to be a YouTuber or be a TikToker or an Instagrammer or anything like that. You don't have to be those things. And if you don't feel comfortable showing yourself on the camera or even using your own voice, there's an opportunity for you. You can still have a creative outlet. And this whole faceless thing, it's been around for a few years, but it's kind of been more so in the, faceless music YouTube channels and how-to channels and things of that nature. But now it's kind of spreading its wings with AI and getting a lot higher quality. And that's where I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for wise people. And there's some people that are already taking advantage of this stuff, well beyond anything that I've done, that are making millions of dollars a month with faceless brands. So I mean, there's lots of opportunities financially, and also, like I said, creative outlets. Lots of opportunity to kind of share what you're interested in, whatever that may look like. And luckily, there's a lot of tools out there that will help you with that. In fact, one of them I'm going to be launching here shortly. So, um, yeah, super super excited to share that with the world. But what does the future look like for this space? It's huge. It's huge with AI. I mean, imagine, you know, these kids, let's just use this as an example, a kid's story time YouTube channel, right? You go online, you find yourself the best AI image creator. You then feed that image into a video creator. You whip out, 2 to 5 minute videos. They cost, $5 a piece. You then send it through an AI editor and you auto post it on YouTube. And you do that, 3 to 5 times a day for the next year. You now have a gigantic kids story time channel with ads and, huge revenue for something like that. So tons of opportunity. That's just one option. You can do 1,000 different other ones. Um, but yeah, man, there's lots of opportunity for that. So anybody that's watching or listening that's thinking about, getting into social media, but doesn't want to be a talking head, doesn't want to be the person in front of the camera or even the voice on the recording, you don't have to be. You don't have to be. So that's kind of the beauty of it.
And that's the thing that really intrigues me about the future of AI, and even like possibly even the reality right now. As somebody who was born with the issues I was born with, and there's a reason that I put myself out there like I do, because I want to educate everybody and hopefully inspire people to not be afraid to be themselves. And there's a lot of people who don't have the issues that I have, that don't see how good they are as an individual, and don't see that they're more than capable of, hitting record or going live on a platform like TikTok and just having success just being themselves.
Yeah.
But there is another side of that, the maybe the more like goofy side of me, but also on a serious note, like I've been through a lot of stuff, and the idea of actually, and I, in my mind, I've always been really against like being something that I'm not. Like in my mind, I'm authentic. I'm Mark, and you see what you get, and those are all things that I, in my mind, and probably in how I've lived. That's how I've like pushed to be in life, but getting to the side where I'm a little goofy and being serious at the same time, I do see the appeal and the possible advantage for somebody like me to say, you know what, I'm going to try to do like a business or do something where I can seriously be something a little bit different, something that I'm not, where I'm maybe judged a little bit differently, maybe a little more normally. And not saying that all of my experiences in life are like horrible, but it's definitely not easy even today, and I know people still see things in me that you're like, why this, why that, and why do you sound like Sid from Ice Age sometimes? And I really do get that on like TikTok, but yeah, it's something I've thought about, just trying to just be like, I wonder what, if any, difference that would make in my world if I just came up with something and used AI for it and tried it.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think for anybody, and Mark, I think the hard part, just to speak to what you said, is no matter what you have gone through, no matter what you look like or how people pick on you, everybody's got something to, say.
I
You,
agree.
you're right. Everybody's got something to say, man. And I'm learning more and more as I age that listening to people, especially when they're just talking just to be facetious or mean or hurtful to people. I just let those people talk now. Um,
Yeah.
I've had many situations where, I've had falling out with friends I thought I was really close with and kind of poured my heart and soul into a relationship that didn't work out. Or, I've been looked at as the strange one, the odd one, the odd bird. And I've come to love that now. And it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt a little bit. It certainly does. But I think being able to look at it and go, whatever kind of person needs to say or do those kind of things to people, I do feel bad for them because they're clearly going through some things. They're we aren't inherently out here just like trying to destroy other people emotionally. So I feel like the people that are out there doing that, they've got some things going on way beyond what we imagined. So yeah. And then as far as the faceless stuff, absolutely, man. Give it a shot. It's more accessible now than it's ever been, and it's easy. Really, it's pretty easy. When I put my school community together, I've got to do that soon. But I'm gonna be doing a school community, um, and a good portion of it will be free, and then there'll be some deeper dives that'll we'll do some monthly subscriptions. But I'm going to do a little faceless program in there to kind of share the knowledge that I have and what that looks like, to share with other people. So
Yeah, even after all this discussion and just you confidently saying go for it, I still want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to be faceless and out there. So I don't know. But one thing that I do want to touch on quick before we go is just to talk a little bit about your book, your number one bestseller on Amazon, The Final Business Model. I know you alluded to the inspiration a little bit, and just want to give you an opportunity to, talk about it a little more, and anything that you're hoping to just the audience and who you're hoping to inspire, who you're hoping will read your book.
yeah, yeah, thank you, man. So the final business model, it's not a fiction book. It's a thick read. So just so you're aware. Um, I think that can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Okay, perfect. My headphones just dinged at me. Um, but I think if there was a type archetype of person that wants to read it, it's anybody that is looking at their life right now and thinking, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this, whether it's in work or whether it's a passion project. And yeah, so I created something, a framework called the Auto Generative Agentic Ecosystem, or AGAE. And essentially what it is it's a fully autonomous structure that the biggest difference that's not really happening on the market right now is that it's capable of replicating itself. So, long story short, I break this down over a lengthy 390 page book, or 290 pages. I don't even remember. It's not 390, just kidding. Uh, if you get the Kindle version, it's 290. But yeah, it deep dives into what that looks like and what I believe is going to be the final business model. I believe in the future it will replace our old way of thinking and our old way of doing things, and kind of take the human out of the daily grind mix, and elevate them to the creator, to the orchestrator, to the one that's calling the shots, and not just the executives I'm talking about. This will look like one man solopreneur empires, similar to what I'm building. The future will have things like that where we'll see, $1 billion company run by one person and 1,000 AI agents. And I know that sounds outrageous, but it is coming um, quicker than we think. So the opportunities are endless, and that's what my book is about. You can get it on Amazon, like you said. And there's also a Kindle Unlimited deal going on right now. So if you have that, you can get my book for free.
One thing that's amazing, first of all. Second of all, one thing that you said that I think is really important before I ask you to tell us where people can find you and work with you. One thing you said is giving the creator, meaning like all of us, not just the CEO or the founder or the executive vice president of a company, all of us. So I feel like when I was working, and I'm still working in corporate America, I shouldn't say when, but when I was a little higher on the ladder, I used to kind of see like feedback on people often saying that like creativity was something they felt like they couldn't really tap into day to day in their work. And I feel like that's something that is not only from the world that I've been spending my career in, but I think it goes for everybody. And I think everybody needs to feel like and channel into their creativity, because I know from talking to people like you, from just my own experiences doing this show, that it's been huge for me to actually give myself the freedom to be the creator, to tap into my creativity, to have that kind of control. And I think that that could help people with their mental health and to help with our society overall, for people to be much happier.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah. And yeah, I touch base on that actually in the book. Yeah, freeing yourself of the constraints that are kind of put on us. And while it's not for everybody, and yes, some people will always remain in that space, and that's perfectly fine. There's no lesser, or better situation. I think that for those that do feel that way, for those that are like, man, I want to do something a little different. I do want to be creative. I do want to be free from this. That my book is for you.
No, and I totally agree that it's actually not for everybody. Some people, many people, I shouldn't just say some, many people don't necessarily need to have that kind of like creative power. But I do kind of know from my own experiences that there's a lot of people who would probably feel a little happier if they could. So,
Yes.
speaking of having the power to be creative, I don't know if this is a good segue. It's probably not. But uh, why don't you tell us a little bit about how people can find you? You've already told us how we can find your book, although you can tell us again, and just how they can work with you and anything else you want to add.
Yeah, well, first off, Mark, thank you so much for having me on here. This has been a major pleasure. And yeah, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. I am working on getting my Instagram and TikTok and YouTube presence up, which will just be under Drake Wolfe as well. That's Wolfe. But for now, I've got a decent presence on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I'm one of the only ones. So Drake Wolf. And then you can find me online if you would like help with a business idea or implementing, agentic workflows into your company. That's goagentix.com. That's Agentix.com. So you can hit up me or my team, and we will get back to you and assist you as soon as possible, and get your workflows and your dreams started. And then if you want to know more about me and my books, you can go to drakewolfbooks.com. I will be writing more in the future. This is just my first one. I've found that I actually enjoy this once I get over the grueling process. uh, I enjoy it, so I will be putting more out. But yeah, that's about it, man. And also keep your eye out in the next coming weeks for Optimize, which you mentioned earlier. Optimize AI. That is going to be a fully automated social media content creation platform. And there will be a piece in there that focuses specifically on faceless creation. So,
I love it. I I appreciate, I could probably talk about this topic for hours, but we're almost hitting the hour mark here. And yeah, I'm sure, I know I have things to do. I'm sure you have things to do. So again, this was Drake Wolfe, who is the founder and CEO of Agentix. He is the founder CEO of Optimize AI. He's the founder, executive director of an amazing foundation called Foster the Future Foundation. And he has a number one bestseller book on Amazon, The Final Business Model. Hot off the press, number one bestseller. Drake, I appreciate you being here on Mark My Words. And maybe you can program an AI for me to actually say my name. I'm Mark Schmidt, the host. I never say that I'm the host. I'm Mark Schmidt. I'm always thinking about the guests and jumping into the guests. I am Mark Schmidt.
well, that's a good quality to have, Mark, and it definitely shines through.
Well, Drake, thanks again for being here. I'm Mark Schmidt. This was Mark My Words, and I'll see everybody soon with a new episode. Bye. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.